Tio Elisanoyo Da Oganale Nagida Chalugi Che Ugidali Unega Che Chickamauga Ele Gaduwa Ele Osage. Hello and good evening, all my friends and relations and everybody. Welcome to the show tonight. I am Mashu Whitefeather, and I am Chickamauga and Gaduwa, Tsalagi or Cherokee and Osage from the mountains of the Blue Smoke. Our lead-in song tonight was by Bo Taylor, Cherokee artist, from his album Rebuilding the Fire, and that was a welcoming or traditional welcoming or gathering song. For people who would like to call in with questions with our special guest tonight, our call-in number is area code 718-506-1564. Again, that's area code 718-506-1564. And for those of you who are listening through our website, Just Us Radio Network, we have a chat area on there, and if you have questions there, then please write them in. And our people in the background, which tonight is Chimmy Bennett, he's Western Band Cherokee from Oklahoma, and also Jerry Jones, who's one of our producers. She's on from upstate New York. And then also in the background is my cousin, Charles Two Dogs, from Kentucky. And at this time, I would like to introduce my co-host, who will also introduce our special guest tonight, Doreen Bennett from Aotearoa, also known as New Zealand. Kia ora, Doreen.
Kia ora, Marcia, and thank you for that. Kia ora koutou katoa. Hello to everyone listening today. Our special guest tonight is an elder and a traditionalist with his people, his tribe, and just very knowledgeable in things Māori. I'd like to introduce our Arawa elder, pawson Tafi. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Nā koutou katoa e nā iwi kai wahona. Nau mai haere mai tātou I koi tēnei āhuatanga nei mua I a tātou. Greetings to you all across the other side of the world. Thank you for this time of being able to share with you on this talk day. Areira, kia ora koutou. Greetings to you.
Kia ora. Thank you. Now, Marcia, before we start conversation, did you want to mention anything, or did you want to start with what's happening globally, or shall we just talk with our masua?
Well, thank you for introducing our guest. And if I am correct, you are from Tuhoe. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I have been there. I was there years ago. And for our listeners, I can only talk about what I know or what I've been told. And the Tuhoe people are is the last people to be fighting for their independence. And they are also referred to as the people of the mist. Am I correct? Hello.
Yep, we can hear you, Mashu.
Yeah,
Mashu also
if I had that correct.
Yes, that is correct.
And I was up there years ago with some of my whānau from up there, and our family from up there, and with Chimiiti.
Amaiti.
Yes, and that's before he got all tattooed up traditionally.
Right.
Yeah. So I've been up to your marae there, and was taken around by his home. We were up there for practically a day. We were up there for the day, up around Tuhoe. It's beautiful country up there.
Yes, it is. You're one of the ones that have been really blessed by coming into our valley.
Yes, I have, and I was greeted by the elders there, and we had a very nice talk. This was years ago. I don't know if Doreen was even born yet.
No, probably not.
and we went around, and it was very nice. I've gone to New Zealand off and on for 30 years, and I consider Aotearoa to be my second home. And I've always been treated well every time I've gone over. Well, minus one. Doreen was in on that one, so that's okay. She knows what I'm talking about. But no, I feel very much at home there. And the thing that's always hit me is that when I'm there, I feel very much at home because of the ways of the Maori people. No matter which iwi I go to, they're similar to ours here on Turtle Island. And we call our country Turtle Island as you call your country Aotearoa.
Yes.
So that's our traditional names. And I remember the first time when I was there about 30 years ago, I was at our marae up in Tahikiroa marae, and it was like I looked out amongst the people there, and I actually saw the faces of my whānau from here. So that was very moving to me, and so I've always made a point to go back every chance I get, and try to keep up the relations and keep things going. And through that, I met Doreen 3 years ago, and we started this cultural exchange between the Maori and our Cherokee people, and it's grown into something to be quite big now, where we've actually got our own organization now that we're still working on, and it's still growing in all sorts of ways, and working on the decolonization of our people. And some of the work that Doreen's doing over there is through our Two Feathers International Consultancy. So I think Indigenous people, and I think Doreen and I probably saw this more within the last 2 or 3 weeks when we were in New York at the United Nations, all Indigenous peoples around the world, no matter which country we're in, no matter where we're coming from, we all have the same problems, and we all have the same issues. And I think that was pretty interesting. I think we all knew it, but when we all came together in one place and actually started discussing it, it was like a reaffirmation of that. And like I said before, when I say Indigenous people, I'm talking more of the people who still live in our tribal situations or in communities, tribal communities, and we still have the tribal structures that we live by traditionally. Doreen, would you like to add anything to do that, or?
Well, I was just going to say, like, Matua came into the prison over the weekend to Tautoko to support the women's prison and some tikanga training, traditional, around our traditional practices, values and teachings. And I had the opportunity to present our DVD at the training. So he got a good overview of where we are as Two Feathers, but where we are in regard to Indigenous Americans and the same issues, the same problems that we both cultures are suffering. So yeah, he did get a good overview of that.
Oh, kapai. Good, good, very good.
So would you like to talk a little bit about your iwi, your tribe?
Right. As you know, the tribe that I come from, the Tuhoe tribe, is more or less, well, like you say, mashu, you know where it is. Yes. And we are generally known as the children of the mist. Mainly because the the mist always settles there during the night, and mostly into the morning as well. And some people, outsiders, when they come into the valley, they have problems seeing where they're going. And yet, for my people, we have no problems. We can speed along the roads as if there was no mist there. So that's how we are generally known, as people who can see through the mist.
Oh.
So they just generally call us the children of the mist because we live in it. And we basically do everything around when the mist is there. Sometimes we may have to wait till the middle of the day before the lift, before you can see the sunshine or see across the other side of the river, more or less. So we are an iwi that are really quite strong in our language, in our culture, in our teachings from our old people. We are very, nowadays, of course, we have started to sort of relax in some of the traditions that we do have regarding a lot of our people. Hence, Tamaiti, as you quite know, when we were going to school, that man was never like what he is now. He only became what he became after we all sort of left school, came down into the city to live amongst the white people, and from there he started to look at being a radical. He just didn't like the way the white people were treating us, even on our own land. Hence, the very first day when Tame came into Wellington, to the capital, he said to one of our other cousins, "Come with me, we're going somewhere." And he said, "Where are we going?" He said, "Don't worry, just follow me, we're going somewhere." So anyway, they went into Wellington, and they went on to the Parliament ground. And he said, "This is it. This is where we are staying." So he pitched up his tent. And that was the first day that Tamaiti started to do what he's been doing ever since. He's always been fighting for the Māori people, for whoever. It didn't really matter which race, which iwi. We were all the same. Once you're a Māori, you're a Māori. So if he was going to fight for a cause, he was going to fight it for everyone. And hence the way he is now. And so I guess he's a bit like you now, Mashu. He travels. He's been over there. He's been to Hong Kong. He's been to all over the place.
Ah, good one. Yeah, you know, that's a hard position to be in. He's you know, and not everybody agrees with the way a leader does things, and this has been pointed out throughout history. But I know he's been considered to be quite the radical, but he's you know, this is what we need. We need more of our leaders, good leaders who are knowledgeable in the history and knows what's going on, to stand up. But we have to be able to do it also from a point where we can work with things diplomatically as well, because in some places the being radical doesn't work as well because you don't get the support. So you have to be able to, in my eyes, to work it from, you have to know when to be radical, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think the change that's coming, number one, the way we believe here on Turtle Island is that we are the change. We are the generation of the change. We say we are the seventh generation. And that is the change from our prophecies, from all of our tribes' prophecies over here. And in order to affect that, there has to be a way where we have support from non-indigenous or non-tribal groups in order for that to work as well. So I guess a really good leader, and that's what we're lacking today, I think, at least here on Turtle Island, is really good leaders that knows how to pull the people together for one common cause, keep the people focused, because a lot of our goals are long-term instead of short-term, and keeping the people's interest for those long-term goals. Because, I mean, I can't speak for Maori, but I know for our indigenous Americans, you know, you say we're going to do this, and if it's not done in 3 or 4 weeks, then what happened? You know, why isn't that done already? You know, we're our people are kind of a short-term focused people, and that's not getting us anywhere.
Right.
Well, you know, Mashu, Tamaichi also did a little bit of time.
Yes. Matter of fact, didn't he get out? He get out of jail just as when I was there last time.
No, I think he's only done time once. I don't think it's been in and out of jail. But this time he actually couldn't. They couldn't get him off. Yeah, as wrong as it was. But he did serve a little bit of time. He's out now. Yeah. And he's still fighting the cause, but in a different way. And that just must be because he's now, you know, getting older. He's slowed down a bit.
Well, I tell you what, one will find, and I'm speaking as an elder, we find that there's better ways to get the same goals accomplished. I think we all at one time went through this militant phase, and with living life and accruing this thing called age comes what we like to call wisdom. Yes. And that lets us work in a more amiable way with different ways of getting the same job done. And with what am I trying to say? I can't think of the word I want. I'm trying to go between two languages here. With less resistance. That's a good one. With less resistance.
Well, I'm still waiting for yours, Mashu.
I always tell people if you want to learn our ways, I'm not a good teacher. You just have to watch and listen, and then that's the way I teach. And I'm still watching and listening my elders. And then a few years ago, I was pointed out that I was an elder, and I went, wait a minute, I'm still learning. But that just kind of sneaks up on you. And but that's what I've learned, and I try to be as diplomatic as I can be, and get as many people in our corner. And this is one reason why I love being at the UN, because that just afforded us an opportunity to work with other Native peoples, and I can just see so much happening where all of our indigenous peoples, and that's the vision I have, all of our indigenous peoples from around the world actually working together to save our Earth Mother and to bring, justice and equality to all of the world. But first we have to save our Earth and our water, because without that, none of us are going to be around to worry about the other stuff anyway. And that's my philosophy. So there you go.
Did you, one of the things Marta is doing, and him and I will be working together this weekend, this Saturday, around our language.
Ah.
A little bit about where we're as a whole, Māori people, and our language.
Our language, for me, for instance, for the Tuwharetoa people, we're really quite strong in our language. Even here in the city, even though quite a few of us are here in the city, when we see each other, we just revert back to our own language. We just leave the European language aside until we need to use it. So every time we're together, it's always our own language. Even if we meet other people from other iwi, we'll generally start off with our own language to see where they are at. Sadly to say, some of our people here in Aotearoa have sort of lost their language really, they lost it back in the 60s, in about 1965. When I was still going to school, back then, there was a law that came out that we weren't allowed to speak our language anymore at school. But for us in Tuhoe, they couldn't stop it because it was our first language. Even though they pulled our ears and strapped us, they really couldn't stop us from doing that. And hence, for now, where we are now today, a lot of my nieces and nephews have lost their language, more or less. They don't understand what I'm saying to them, but they can't answer me back in their own language. They have to use the Pākehā language to speak back to me. So Pākehā did take away quite a few rights off us. You know, it didn't just happen to the land, it just happened to our language as well, to our mana. But even though they try to take all that away, they can't. Once you have mana, well, it's yours. No one else can take it away.
Can you explain mana?
Mana is something that's sort of handed down. I suppose for you as well, you would have the same thing.
Yes,
Like
that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, from a chief, something's handed down to somebody else.
Mm.
In our iwi, in our tribes, we have the same thing. A mana is handed down from a father to the next one in line, and so it goes on. So everyone has a mana of some sort in a family, whether they be the mana of the one who does the leadership role of the spiritual side, or it could be of the planting of the food. It's all those other things that are regarded as mana. A person would have mana.
Yes.
But they are known by these sort of things that they have. It's been handed down to them. And so, you know, for me now, I'm in a place amongst the white man. Now I'm learning to be a bit more understanding, I suppose, of where I have come from to where I am now. Even though I still see a whole lot of wrongs. Being a radical about it isn't going to make it right. It's like you were saying, there are other ways of addressing these issues. And I remember one of the old people, the very old people, saying, if we are to overcome the white man for what they are doing, then we are going to need to know how to use the pen and paper. So that will be the only way we can go ahead. And I believe that even today.
Oh, yeah. Our people were told the same thing by our leaders. They said, learn all you can.
Yes.
And take that knowledge and use it for our people, to preserve our people against them. And this is, and everything that you're saying has been told amongst our people as well. But probably several hundred years before your people, because we've been dealing with it longer. We've been dealing with the invasion for over 600 years, and I think with your people it's about 150 to 200 years?
Yes.
Yeah. So every time I go to Aotearoa and speak, because I've spoken on many a marae, I say, look at our people back on Turtle Island. Learn from the mistakes that our people have made, and don't make the same. Let us be the ones that you learn from.
Right.
You know, and so that's been my message, you know, when I've gone over. But yes, I agree with you 100%. And we also had laws about our language. We actually had what we had boarding schools, and first of all, when I say Turtle Island, I'm referring to the whole North American continent. I'm referring to Canada, the United States, and Mexico.
Right.
And we've had indigenous people, the whole country. especially during the 1800s to the early 1900s, or I should say, even up to the 1950s, they were either called boarding schools or what were they called up in Canada? Two dogs.
Residential
Schools. I couldn't think of the word of it. Residential schools, and that's where our children were actually taken away from the families and would be there for anywhere from 6 to 12 years. They lost their language. They were forced to cut their hair, which is very strong with our people. They were raised in sterile environments. Our children were beaten, were molested, were killed. And this was the way that especially the Christians and the government tried to divide and conquer our people.
Right.
And tear down our spiritual belief with this Christian belief. And then the people came out of these schools. If they lived through it, they didn't know anything about what it was to be as a part of a family. They didn't know anything about language or tradition or culture. And it's affected our people for like several generations. You know, our people are actually just coming out of that from the rebound of that. And we have other tribes that have other organizations that help people get back into knowing, kind of like what we're doing with Two Feathers, to know where you stand traditionally within your family, within your clan, within your tribe, or within your hapu, within your iwi, within your nation. And this is one of the things that we're trying to do, and in the process of doing that, building a stronger link for the people with their traditions, their culture, and the preservation of language, because it's all tied together. It's all tied together. And so listening to you speak, it's been the history here on Turtle Island as well. So we know well of what you speak. And when I mentioned that about the two main forces that have tried to divide and conquer our people as being Christianity and the government, in saying that I am not anti-Christian, I always have to make that clear because people automatically assume I am. I'm not, but it is a true fact that these are the two forces that have really divided and tried to conquer our people in the last 600 years in a very negative way. And so that's just a thing of fact. Where when I go to our people in the southeastern part of our country, I'll have people come up and ask me a traditional question. And when I'm asked a traditional question, depending on what it is, sometimes there's a song that goes with it, sometimes there's a story that goes with it, or just a teaching.
Mashu, that's one of the reasons, what you was talking about with the language, that I'm just now learning how even to greet people in my Mohawk way.
Oh.
So there's a lot of things I'm trying to do too.
Yeah. So with that, I start to tell them that, and then I always get Christian scripture thrown in my face. And I go, why are you doing that? That has nothing to do with what you asked. And they go, no, and they start quoting the Bible, and I go, stop it. I said, that's a foreign religion that was brought to us by the white man from a foreign country, and it was even foreign to the country that it came from. That has absolutely nothing to do with our spirituality, which has been the main belief of this country for over 130,000 years. You ask me a traditional question, I am giving you the traditional answer. Has absolutely nothing, that belief has absolutely nothing to do with what you ask me. And if you look at things in the grand scheme of things, that foreign belief of oppression has been here in less than a blink of an eye. And that's how I explain it. Because when I was taken as a child to a Christian church for the first time, I saw people with their heads bowed and their hands put together. I went, oh my God, what are these people are afraid of? Why are these people afraid of their God? Because our people, when we pray, we always pray with our hands outstretched and looking up towards the Creator and up in the sky. And as a child, that's the first thing that I thought of was, oh my God, these people are afraid of their God. And I've grown up and I've learned more, and I've educated myself along being educated by others, on many different beliefs and stuff like that. And I've come to realize it's not necessarily the religion, but it's the people who use the religion for their own personal means.
That's right.
Yes, and so, but I still today get upset when other beliefs are trying to be pushed off on me, when I know my beliefs and our traditional beliefs, because I am a traditional. And so I always have to make that point, that what I say is backed up by good fact and theory, and that I'm not anti, and I don't put anyone's beliefs down, because if I do that, how can I expect people to respect my ancient beliefs, which are the true beliefs of this land?
Mashu, I think I'd just like to add to that. A lot of our people have been indoctrinated by religion, by Christianity. And I'll look at my mum and dad as examples. It hasn't meant that they've lost being Māori or knowing what they know traditionally.
And that's one thing I've admired about the Maori people, because even the sister that I met there last time, I can't think of her name.
Sister Margarita from the Wainuiarua.
Yes. She says she was a Catholic sister, and she had me laughing so hard. She said, I may be a Catholic sister, but I'm a Maori first.
That's right.
And that's wonderful. And your people are the only people that I've seen like that. I have not seen that amongst my people. And that's why when I'm in Aotearoa, it doesn't bother me that much. But when I go amongst my own people in the southeast here, and they actually believe that's the ancient belief, or that's the traditional belief, that's what bothers me. That's the thing that bothers me. But and I've seen in your country, I've seen many people. They may be this, they may be that, they may even be a Catholic priest. But above and all, they are Maori, and they know where they're coming from, and they know the difference.
Right.
And that's good. I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Master, do you think that's because we know our identity?
I think that's because your people are still living more traditional than what our people have, and I think there are things that contribute to that. Number one, your country is much smaller than ours, and even though you have different iwis, you have one main tribe, and that's what's called today Maori. Here on Turtle Island, we have over 1,000 tribes, and every tribe has its own culture, has its own language, has its own traditions, and that makes it hard. Our only common language prior to European migration was the sign language, and that's where we would speak our own language, but we would only understand the hands or the sign language, and that's English became known in the northern part of our country and Spanish in the southern part of our country. So I think that's one of the main things that we have to look at as far as differences. And I think because of having a smaller area and predominantly one tribe, even though you have different iwis and several million dialects, your people have been able to stay more on top of things than what our peoples have here.
We're letting you get away with that. One tribe. Hello.
Well, I'm trying to explain it for our people here to understand, because I know you're different tribes. Okay, that's why I've tried to say different iwis. And I know you're all grouped together as people, but you're all known as your own tribes, like Napuhi, like
But we understand the basic language, might be a better way to put it, mashu, and we understand our protocols for that. So we share all of those. Those are what we got in common. As iwi know, we're quite distinctive. Like Tuhoe have their own dialect.
Yes, yes.
So have I said that correct?
Yeah, that's right. We have our own dialect. We have our own way of sorting things out as well, whereas other iwi might do things differently. One thing, like we talked about it the other day when we went into the women's prison the other day, of how the first day we were there, we had them sitting behind each other, like how they do it in the schools. You know, they have a teacher standing up front and everybody sitting behind them. Yes. So I said to them, I don't really like this idea. I prefer the idea of the way Māori people do things. What we do is we are all going to sit around the room in a circle, sort of a thing. And that tells us that each one of you gets an opportunity to say something. So it starts from one end of the room and everybody just goes around and everybody gets an opportunity to speak until it comes to the end. Now, if nothing's been decided by that time, then it starts again. It just keeps on going around the circle again until a solution has been found. And that's the way, you know, us Māori prefer to have our meetings, our wānanga, whatever we call it. We always do it inside of the house, but we all sitting around the sides, so no one misses out on saying what they need to say.
And that's exactly how we do it here traditionally as well.
Right. Right. So this is something that the white man don't even know. You know, I suppose it's going to take them another 10 or 20 years for maybe a computer to tell them that. And we are already doing it, and they don't even see it.
Okay, I wouldn't hold your breath on that. You might become very blue, but you know the thing. Another thing too is that there's a lot of non-indigenous people that are today supporting our indigenous people, and they're very passionate about that, on the things that our indigenous people are trying to do, like preserving culture, language, saving the earth, and I have to say that we have to be very mindful of that as well, because they're very sincere in what they're doing and wanting to learn our ways. And to me, that is another way of making sure our traditions don't die out.
Right. Yes.
And then we've had here in this country, they started the blood quantum thing years ago, and when I think it was the mid 1800s when the government wanted to get all of our land. And I know they tried this in New Zealand and it didn't work. But this is where they started with your full bloods, and if you married a non-indigenous and your children were half, and they figured after so many generations they'd get down and then they could get all the country back, get all the land for nothing.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't work. And so, but the only way it worked is that our people really bought into that. And because of that, today we have people looking at our own people saying, well, I'm more Indian than you are, I'm more Native than you are, and some of those people are being denied their birthright of language and tradition and culture. And I would very much like to see that whole system just chucked out the window, because that's not right. Our people never did that prior to the government still wanting to get all of our land. Now, I don't know if I'll see that in my lifetime, but that's one thing I'd like to see stopped. But I like the way the Maori handled it. They just ignored it and it just went away.
One of the things I'd like to say real quick, Mashu, too, is the grandmothers and the sacred gentlemen need to start, which they are. They're starting to talk now, and bring back a lot that way too.
I didn't understand what you were saying, Two Dogs. The grandmothers or what?
The grandmothers are starting to talk, more, and the sacred gentlemen's, starting to come back a lot too. I was just on a show with them. The woman's heart is starting to talk more too.
Well, with our Iroquois people, the women have always been the. I mean, everything goes through the women, but it's through the man's voice as a rule. So that's always been a part of our culture, and we've always recognized the women have always been equal with our people. Here on Turtle Island, some of our tribes are matrilineal, some of our tribes are patrilineal, but we are of the Iroquois people, and the women play very strong roles in our culture, in our society, and in our homes. So that's never actually ever been a problem with us, and we've always recognized that. And I think it's more of the non-traditional people, or those who have gotten away from their traditions, that don't realize that. And they themselves are still in the process of learning and reconnecting, with their tribal traditions.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But, to be honest, Doreen, I still got to give you honor, because when you come here, you're one of a very good dignitary of your people, man. So I was honored to meet you.
Thank you very much. One thing I know when I travel anywhere, even here in Aotearoa, is that if I'm going to stand and talk about something, and I learnt this and I got told it, one, you need to know what you're talking about, and two, you need to remember who you come from. So I know, I've got my family with me, I've got my ancestors with me. I know that, and I know, and that's how I stand, because I've got them here with me. So thank you for that, and I always, when I travel anywhere, make sure I go home first and have karakia prayers with my family. And I've done it every single trip, when I've left the country.
Now, to your guest that you have tonight, I just wanted to I'd shared this with Doreen before. For about I'd done 3 months worth of shows from over there with my cousin Mashu and Doreen and other guests that you had on Aotearoa with the Māori people. And I told Doreen this for about 6 months. That's the way I answered the phone, was kia ora.
Right.
I've been talking there to so many people. That's how I answered the phone for like 6 months.
Gee, he couldn't even remember his OCO.
But how I talk with my sisters, my brothers and sisters in Canada, with the Mohawk is Segali skana go. That's that. I had to remember how to do that. Plus, Oseo from my Tsalagi side. But for 6 months, I answered the phone with Kyoto.
Right.
That's lovely. That's a lovely compliment.
It is. That's well known here in Aotearoa, saying to anybody, kia ora, meaning greetings to you. But the actual meaning of those mean well. Did you get that?
I didn't hear the last part of it.
Go ahead again.
Be well.
Oh, be well. Okay.
Be well. No.
That's exactly what it means. But we term to use it as a term of greeting.
Mm-hmm.
But good on you for using it. Fight. Very good.
Kaupai.
What were you were saying about the land, Mashu? I believe that we do, even here in Aotearoa. we need to look after our Mother Earth, because from there is where we get everything, all our sustenance, all our living, all our spiritual being. We, as us Māoris, we believe we were created with the land as well, with everything that's on.
Exactly, and that's the same way. That's the same belief as our people. We are here as stewards of the earth to care for our mother, and it's to leave it in better shape for our future generations than what we found it.
Yes, that's right.
We say for at least 7 generations ahead. But with there's 6 corporations that control all the governments of the world, and they're all for this this oil and fracking and tar sands, and that's destroying the water, which is killing the fish, which is killing all the wildlife that comes and drinks the water, and now it's killing all the vegetation that's around it. And without water, there is no life. And I'm just waiting for our mother, the earth, to just say, okay, I've had enough, and she's going to teach everybody a good lesson. Because that oil, we look at it as being like the blood from the earth. And this is why you have the plates of the earth shifting. This is why you're having sinkholes come up, because they're taking this from our mother. And she's here to provide for us. She provides everything that we need. Everything that we need in order to live. And she gives it to us in its natural form.
That's right.
Like any mother would do. And we're killing her. And,
yes, we are.
And unless our people do something, we're not, I mean, there's no place else to go.
Well, we can't leave it there, Marsha. We have to do something. Even if we've run out of time or haven't got much time, we still have to try.
Yes, and our people are. Our people are. It's not like people are just saying, "Oh, we're giving up." But you know, this is another thing that that our indigenous people are doing. You know, it's just like when I talked at Ratanapa, I was telling a little bit of the prophecies and how our indigenous people from around the world need to unite. And this was when Idle No More started in Canada. And back then I said, what affects one indigenous people in the world will soon affect all indigenous peoples. And then it will affect all peoples. And that's exactly what's happened. And this is why we have to stand and work together. I never forget who we are and what our mission is here. Oh.
One of the pushes that they've been working towards over in Turtle Island has been trying to unite the people. And I know here in Aotearoa that we do it easier, I think, when there's a cause like a foreshore improvement or land march. I don't know, I seem to think it's going to be really hard to do on a much bigger continent with hundreds and hundreds of different tribes that have completely different ways.
The one thing here on Turtle Island is that if we have one goal that all tribes can come under, that's really good, and you'll see the turnout. But what the problem has been in the past is that every community, no matter where it is, has their own specific set of problems that they deal with. But you have one major problem, and this Idle No More, for example, is a good one, where we're trying to save the earth for everyone as indigenous people. But when we do that as indigenous people, we're helping all people, whether they're indigenous or not. This is one good thing. But in order to do that, we have to have the people educated to let them know what's going on. And the problem with that is that mainstream media is doing everything it can not to let that happen, because they don't want the people to know what's going on. They put all sorts of stuff on mainstream media to do. So it's things like this form of technology with the internet and stuff that we have been able to inform people, and through vehicles like this show and other indigenous shows. and other programmings on that may not necessarily be indigenous, but are talking about the same thing. This is what's getting the word out, and this is how it's going to make a difference. This is a miracle. I mean, years ago, who would have thought that we would be able to talk like this, which is better than a telephone, and we can actually see each other at times when we speak halfway around the world and have people from 5 or 6 different countries at the same time. And this is how we do our board meetings for our organization on 3 different continents. This is wonderful, and this is the fastest way to get the news out there to where our indigenous peoples can come and work together. So we're taking new technology because our people, as indigenous people, we are very smart. We have here what we call in our country ingenuity, and we take what's new and we use it to preserve, new technology to keep our traditions and our culture together and alive, and we use this as a tool to make sure that it's able to continue. We know when and where to use it.
But Mashu, the one thing that all indigenous people, I'm pretty sure, have without technology is we all have a grapevine.
Oh, yeah.
And that is just as fast to get out to everyone. When there's an issue or there's a concern that will affect us, our families, our hapu, our sub-tribes and tribes, that's just as fast as well, and that was here before.
Oh, yeah, but you're going to find that working more like in your own area, in your own country, but from where you are to get over here to Turtle Island or you have a better chance in Australia because you guys go back and forth all the time. But, to get it to be worldwide is what I'm saying, that same message.
We just, Mashu, did you read the comment? Mark DeVille.
Mark DeVille, but the
has left a comment
just reported
in regard to the protesting that's happening around the World Cup.
They're just reporting little protests.
Tribes are protesting in
Oh,
regard to the World Cup in South America. So what cup is that? Is that rugby, soccer?
Could be soccer.
It'll be soccer. Okay.
I have.
So that's Brazil, France.
I believe it's soccer, I think. But, to be honest with you, to be honest with everything that has happened on Turtle Island for 600 years, that we are still here and we shall remain. And what is happening in Aotearoa and around the world is that the Māori people are still here and shall remain, and that everything is coming back full circle in a lot of ways.
Everything in tradition with our people happens. Everything natural is a circle. Everything happens in cycles, and that's the way it's been from the beginning of time. And we don't look at ourselves as indigenous people as being above any of this. We are all connected. We are a part of that circle. We are part of that universe. We depend on plants and animals to live, and believe it or not, plants and animals depend on us to live. We're a part of a never-ending cycle. And we, as indigenous people here, always refer to the animals as animal people, like the deer people, the rabbit people, the two-legged, the four-legged, the winged ones. They're all brothers and sisters. We always look at our world as being connected. And this is the way our traditional people still feel today. And I think even for those who have gotten away from tradition, usually that has been instilled in them in their childhood at some point, and that still is with them to a degree. And we find that the older a lot of the people get that are, say, raised in an urban situation, I think over the years we have seen a lot more of those people find their way back, because they come to that point where they're living and what they're doing, it's not answering the questions for them, or it's not answering what's within them, the answers that they need, so that we find that a lot of them are starting to come back. And that's just one of the things that I've seen in my lifetime so far, in my young years. You could have.
Well, thank goodness for our young people.
Yes.
Because
yes.
Our ones are real clever over here. They're going to take us into a better future. A lot of them have got the language. A lot of them have got a really good grasp of our traditions.
Uh-huh.
So, we're going to have a future because we've made sure to upskill them so we can. But I'm pretty sure, Mashu, over there it would be the same for your people. You've got some really good young ones coming through.
Yes, we do.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm not saying that our people are behind in any way. I think it's a hard road for our people. I think it's a hard road for any indigenous people to live in two worlds all the time. And the thing is that, I know you've heard me say this before. I've always tried to use myself as an example where I'm a traditional and I don't have to give up anything being traditional, but I can still survive in a non-traditional world. And it's hard for a lot of people living in a traditional world and what we call a Western world today, and it does affect our youth quite a bit. And but if we have more role models that shows it can be done, I think it'll be more successful.
Tonight is Matua pawson hake from Tuhoe, one of our tribes on the top of to the east coast of our North Island here in Aotearoa. And kia ora, Mashu, are you back?
I am back, and I would like to say that was a wonderful song during the break, written by my late brother, Peter P. Cope, the Napuhi National Anthem, eh?
It is.
Yes. Yes, he is much missed, a very wonderful man. I had to run. I was running at the break here. That was pretty good. I got exercise.
You must be feeling better.
Yeah.
What were we talking about before we went for our break, Mashu?
We were talking about saving the earth traditionally and for all people, and what a wonderful world it's going to be. And I just wanted to know if we need...
And the young are going to rule.
A lot of the young think they rule already, and not all. But that's why we old stinkers are around, to make sure that they get a taste of what it's supposed to be.
It was just really interesting. So, Margaret, did you want to talk, did you want to add to where Mashu was going with his story there, with what he was talking about?
About the land. Well, I think we're more all in the same sort of thing. Mashu, we've had over the last couple of weeks an issue here in Aotearoa. One of our lakes has turned to the colour orange, and they don't know why. So now they're having to look at why that's happened now, because it's just not natural that it's gone this way. So they really are needing to have a look at the issue of why our waterway has turned orange. Obviously, it's got to do with some chemical of some sort that's been put into Mother Earth, and hence it may have leaked into the river somewhere along the line.
Is this an inland river?
Could possibly may have come from inland, but it's more or less gone into a lake at the moment.
Okay.
But we also have other, a year or so ago, they had on the television here that there was problems from the farmers, from their cattle as well, with all the waste that's been washed down into the onto the land, but it's eventually seeped its way into the waterway as well, and it's all killing off what's on the bottom of the lakes as well. And it's just too much, and it's just lack of oxygen in the lakes now because of what's been happening. So we do have quite a few issues here on the land as well here regarding pollution. And no doubt you'll be having the same sort of things over there.
Oh, yeah.
So what you experience there, we experience in here as well.
Yeah. Yeah, here though, a lot of our problems is the mining and the taking of the oil, and that's destroying a lot of the earth here. And it's, I think what's going to come to is people are just going to have to stand up and band together and say no more, because there's so many other sustainable ways that we can continue in the world without destroying the earth. There's solar, wind, there's hydro, where everything is sustainable and natural, where we don't have to destroy the earth. And the sooner people start thinking about that and doing it, the better off we're all going to be.
Right.
But nobody listens to me, so I need people to back me up. Give me a big microphone, eh?
Yeah, I think we all need big microphones. Or maybe the ones who have the powers to be need to have bigger ears so they can hear.
They need to get the plugs out, because this is the main difference I see between us traditional indigenous people and what I will call, just for the sake of telling this, people of today's world living in your cities, or people that are not indigenous, is that with our people, we always look for the future of our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and so forth. This is what we do things for. Whereas today, people who are not brought up with this belief system only look for their self-gratification in their lifetime. They want things easy. They don't think about the repercussions of what it's doing to the earth and to other people, as long as they have everything there at their fingers and are comfortable. And this is the main thing I see between traditional and indigenous people as opposed to non-traditional and non-indigenous people. And I think a lot of that has to do with the governments taking over and what they teach in school and what they put on the news media, main news media, because they keep people unfocused. They throw little things in to get people distracted over what are the main issues in today's world. The histories have never been told correctly, so that's distorted. And so I think that's also been a way of control. Excuse me. But I think with a lot of us indigenous people, and I know that I'm one of the indigenous people that goes and lectures internationally on our indigenous people, tells the true history of our people. So the people that I do touch in some way know the truth of what's going on, and hopefully that stirred other people, those people, to go and do more research on their own and check things out, to put truth out there, because I find truth to be a very important part in existing in today's world. And that corrects the history, and it brings changes about to correct some of the things that have been done in the past. And I find that it's all tied together in that way as a part of education, and also letting people know that we're still here, we are still very vital, and we are still making history our people are still making history and contributing to today's world.
Oh.
Boy, I put a whole bunch of ideas and thoughts into that one statement, didn't I?
I know you did. I got a little bit lost.
Well, I thought it was all connected myself. And I think there's a lot of our people that are doing this, and I think the world is becoming more educated. I just wish it was being able to be done quicker. So, what are you guys doing over there in Aotearoa?
Oh, that's a good question.
I know, and I mean, I want to know like what are you working with right now? I know what you're doing on the weekends, and how is our elder here helping you and guiding you with that?
Yeah, well, during the part of the week as well, we have been working in the men's prison as well, which is really something new for me. I only just started doing this within the last 12, 13 weeks. But being in there in the prison, just talking to these guys, it's really good for me. It's me giving something back to them. And what I see with some of these guys that are in prison is they've sort of lost their way. Spiritually, physically, mentally, part of their, from what we hear from them, is the system has sort of let them down as well as to why they're there, even though it started with them, but the system didn't really help them in any way. Hence, they're where they are now. And with the women that we've been with them now last weekend, I sort of see similar, same thing happening there. They've lost their way because something is missing in their life. May it be part of the family, may it be part of their thinking problem or their spiritual side. But what we hear is it seems to be spiritually something is missing in their life. And so they don't really know how to page that or which way to go. There's no direction for them as it is. And since we've been going there, they now can understand where we're at, what we're trying to do for them, because they really didn't listen to their parents when their parents were trying to show them the way. Because I think a lot of the young people here in Aotearoa, when they get to the age of about 13, they think they're about 26 and older, that they're in a place where they know better than you and I. And hence they go their own way, and then they seem to lose their way.
We have that same problem here.
Right. So it's how do we get them back on track?
Do you find, and I think Doreen and I have discussed this before, but once someone gets in the system, I think that they are kind of they're set aside in the system. The system doesn't really help in any way, and I think that if you look at the statistics, you'll find more indigenous people number-wise that are in that system than non-indigenous. Isn't that kind of what the statistics are showing over there as well as here, Doreen?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. The majority, 70-80%, are, which is really, really sad. But I think as we learn about our history, then we can sort of make sense of it, of why our people have tended to go that way. Because it's hard when you're at the bottom of the heap, bottom of the cliff, you're on the pile of rubbish. Our people were sort of under the rubbish. So we had to fight our way through that before we even got seen to get above the cliff. And I guess some of our people just haven't pulled themselves out of that rubbish at the bottom. Well, we're still at the bottom, but we're slowly climbing up.
Some of us are still drowning.
Well, you know, and we've noticed this over here. We say that when somebody's really working hard to help our people, it's kind of like you got a bunch of crabs in a bucket. You go on trying to make it to the top, and the other tends to pull them down. You know, so we've got that working against us too. But but I think that's interesting how it's wherever there's an indigenous population, the numbers seem to kind of show or reflect the same no matter where we're at. And because our cultures are different than Western culture, no matter where it is, and usually our beliefs and our laws and what we consider to be the norm of what's good or what the other culture is, and that gets us in trouble as well.
Well, that's that thing though, Mashu, you know, the circle and the square.
Yeah.
We don't fit in theirs, and nor do they fit in ours.
Right.
But we shouldn't look at it that way either. They're just two completely different cultures.
Mm-hmm. So with the programs that you're doing, you're seeing that people are beginning to really understand this now, and it's beginning to make more sense to them.
Yes, these ones that we're seeing in the prison, they now are starting to think, oh, well, I'm a Māori, and this is what I should be doing. Now, the other day while we were in the prison, in the women's prison, the women were asked about a proverb and to explain what they thought of their proverb was to them. Anyway, one woman wrote her proverb down, and I said to her, what does that mean to you? And I was a bit amazed by what she said about that. She said to me, because I'm a Māori, that's why I'm in jail. I said, no, that's not right. That's not what that is saying. You've got that in your mind, that's because you're a Māori, you're in prison, and that is not right. You know, so these are some of the things that these women don't really know that they've missed out on. Mainly because maybe they weren't even listening to their parents. They've just gone away and done their own thing. And now they've gone into a prison. There's nothing else there for them. There's no help. There's no guidance for them except what we're giving them now. They're starting to realise there is hope. There is another way. We should have listened to Mum and Dad, and yet we didn't. And this is the outcome of it. This is where I am. So I need to build on what I've really lost to get back to where I belong, and that's back onto her marae, back to her people, back to her iwi, back to her culture. Because those ones that are here in the city really have lost it. They sometimes, some of them don't even remember that they're a Māori, because they are here in the white man's society, being brought up with all these rules and regulations, and they've forgotten what they've been taught back on their own land, in their own iwi. Hence, they don't know where they are. What they do, whether it's right or wrong, to them it's just for the moment, living for the moment. Whatever happens, happens. But the outcome of that is they end up in prison or they end up somewhere else. And they seem to think it's because they're a Māori why that's happened to them, which is wrong. That's so very wrong.
I know the program, the organization that Doreen and I have kind of started is relatively new. I mean, we've been working on it for like 3 years, approximately. But the work has only been in the field that you've seen Doreen doing, and at the prison has only been within the last year.
Right.
Are there other programs that have been out there longer, doing about the same things with these people? Let's say in the prison, for example, and have done some sort of follow-up once they've returned to their iwis and to their homes, to see if there's been any improvement, or are there any statistics on this, or are most of the organizations still relatively too new to actually get this kind of these kind of findings and data to find out the progress on how good the programs are?
No, there aren't. I think over the years there's been different programs here and there, but there's nothing that's similar to what we're doing at the moment.
I think that what we're doing is kind of new in that we're hitting it from the traditional viewpoint. And
I know, but our message isn't new.
No.
What we're doing, you know, these are messages, and I think the learning is something that's been around for a long time. Because we're talking about restoring traditional language, practices, and values as a means to move forward. Now, that's not new. That's happened through the generations, through the decades, at least. But how we're doing it, I think, is the new approach.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a fresh approach, I think, for us as Māori over here. I think we tend to have that classroom environment. You know, we still have marae, but not everyone can make it to marae, and learn in a traditional way. Mm. But a lot of people will go to classroom environments where, as much as you're saying, sitting behind each other. You know, and that's still not the right environment for us as Indigenous people, I think. Mm-hmm. Like, if we look over there by you, Masters, you learn in a circle. You all sit in a circle, mm-hmm. Around the fire. Mm-hmm. So it's the same with us. We all sit around the walls in our haritini, our ancestral home, mm-hmm. and we're leaning up against our tupuna, our ancestors. Right. You know, the carvings, the tuki panels, all of that stuff is with us in the whare. I forgot the question.
Still in a circle, and no one is ahead or above anybody or below anybody. We're all equal, and we all have the right to say, or to speak in that way. And I think that's the same, at least between with the Māori and with our people. And that's the way I've seen it with most Indigenous peoples.
Yes. See, a lot of the things we do here, I think a lot of the institutions are now finding out that it takes a Māori to talk to a Māori. It cannot be a white man who is telling a Māori this is how it should be done. It just won't work. Exactly. It's got to be, how we would say it, a policeman talking to a policeman, a lawyer talking to a lawyer.
Yes.
So you can't have those people talking to a Māori, because straight away there's a war going to come up.
Yep.
They're not going to listen. Mm. And your people will only listen to you.
Yes.
They won't listen to anyone else. And this is all the building relationships that we go on with our own people. A relationship that was broken years ago through their own families. So now they're in this place, and we sort of have to build a relationship with them, for them, so they can take it home and rebuild that relationship again with their own family.
And I think a lot of that has to do with is that when you speak with your own people, we've all experienced, in most cases, everything that our people have.
Yeah.
Whereas you have someone who's not, it doesn't mean that the other person who's not Indigenous isn't sympathetic or empathetic or doesn't want to help. They just have not experienced the same things, and so therefore they have no idea where our people are coming from.
Yes.
Which just puts you all out there in a different world altogether. And so that's why we need to have our own people working with our own people and knowing where we're coming from and understanding more, because that's the way it's going to be more successful. At least that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's right.
It would be nice to see these programs that are going on now and be able to follow some of the people that you've been able to touch, and maybe get back in touch with themselves as Maori, to go back and see what they do with their lives. Just to see how they progressed, and if this was able to help them, with their lives, and maybe pull their families together and things like that, and what effect it would have, like, on their generations to come, like their children and their grandchildren.
Well, you live longer than us, your people, so you've got more of a chance of seeing that.
Well, I don't know. I would agree with you most of the time, but this last couple of weeks I've been kind of questioning that myself. So.
Yeah, but generally, Mashu, your people live, into their 90s.
Yeah, I know. My mom is 90 years young, and she's still doing pretty good. So I keep hoping I follow her in that way. As long as I'm able to get around and stuff, because me, I like to travel and I like to talk about our people and teach and traditional culture and all of that.
Well, as long as you can get around, okay, that'll be great. Because I am not putting you in a wheelchair around the country.
But it's going to be carved by Maori and have beadwork in it and power. Jeez. See what I have to put up with? I remember in the long ago time, long before the Pakeha came amongst our people, this would have never been talked about. It would just have been done. Hey. So what else is new and what's going on over in Aotearoa since you got back?
Since I got back?
Yes.
Well, apart from work, I haven't had a chance yet to go back home up to Wainuiarua. Possibly the end of the month I'll get home, and then I want to run, I want to have a hui with my family and some of my extended family, because they're all trying to find out what the UN was like and all the people we met.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at doing a little presentation for family and friends at home. Possibly jump on the iwi radio station just to let everyone know what's been happening at the UN.
Is that Awa?
Hmm?
Is that the Awa radio station?
Yeah, Awa FM.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I'm looking at doing that. There's a few key people I actually want to meet with like up in Auckland. I think there's a group up there that wanted to find out about how we would, a group can be a part of the UN, United Nations. So I've got that on my radar. I'm also looking at the big picture, Mashu, which is, if I want to be back over that way in September, then I've actually got a small time frame to get things in order here at home and then start something rolling over there.
If you've noticed on the contacts I sent you today that we made at the UN, quite a few of them are Maori.
Oh, no, I haven't noticed. Oh, I'll have a look.
Okay.
Well, it's actually the Turtle Island contacts that I wanted.
Well, I put all the contacts that I had with the business cards, so I think there's quite a few for us to get started with. Even the young ambassador from the Salish people, I was quite impressed with her.
Well, because that's one of the key things, though, that we should do, and everyone, not just us, should do, is when the opportunity arises to do networking and build relationships, is continue that on.
Mm-hmm.
I see how important that's going to be for us, especially if we want to do an exchange and if we want to look at taking some of our people over and bringing some of your people over this place for that cultural experience. Once we get them between both countries, it's easy enough for us over here to host, one or two or even a handful of people. That's not hard for us to do, and we're quite used to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the same would be for you if a handful of us went over your way for you to host us and give us how our experience.
I think the tour that we did in Oklahoma was great. I think that's a great educational tour. And even if we were to do it in back up in North Carolina, I thought that would be a good educational tour for people that visit here. And it's also Oklahoma's close to us here.
Tell you, Mashu, I think it would be absolutely life-changing, especially for those of our people that wouldn't have the opportunity, or we're heading down a bad pathway. I think it would change their lives, and if we can touch one or two people, then it'll ripple out in their network, their family and their network. So
you're speaking especially for the younger ones?
No, for all ages. It's not just young ones.
Okay.
I know we tend to look at our young ones, but I think sometimes the parents need this so that they can be inspired to help their young. So I was always looking at all ages. It was never just rangatahi for you.
Very good.
That's my thought.
And they'll see the differences, but also how similar we are. I mean, actually be in a village situation so they can see what it's like. And then through the museum and the places that we went, I think that was the first time you and Carl had ever been there. I know you'd been to North Carolina before.
Now, shall I give you the shock news around there? I am pretty sure I put a date to when the first group are moving. I'm moving across there.
The first date, you mean when you're coming in September?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were going to tell me the date the first group is coming. I went, well, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
Well, if you get here September 1st, I expect you to have everything in order and ready to go by the 15th.
Yes, that's why I'm coming early.
Yeah.
But it was this year, and I do think if we want to keep the momentum going for our people, then every year we need to move forward and just keep it moving so that it becomes a living thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
So, and then I have sort of flagged it out a little bit to my family first, who none of them are keen. Well, it's really down to money.
Yeah.
So, and
that's
I can
that affects us over here too.
But not everyone.
That's the thing that affects us over here too, is money.
Yeah.
I think that's a universal indigenous problem. It's this thing called money. We've survived so long without it, it's still hard to get used to.
Oh, well.
Yeah. It's hard to come over on our canoes nowadays.
I tell you what, I will map out the water route to get here to where I live, but you can come on a waka. I would love to see that. I'd make sure I have a band of our people out there to greet you traditionally, too.
Right.
You might be a little tired by the time you get here.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So again, Mashu, the taina, as you say, Māori people, need to lead the way. This is how you do it. You just got to get in there and do it.
Oh, I had to hear that now. Jeez.
I like the taina, the young one.
If I was feeling better, I would have had a comeback for that, eh? Yeah.
Just put me in the front. I'll do it.
Well, there you go.
You can be the target. Yeah. Yeah.
But most of your people also were on canoes, or?
Our canoes, you find that the bigger canoes, or the wakas that you had, were up in the northwest part of the country. Our canoes around here were much smaller, and they held like maybe up to 3 or 4 people. But you get to the size like the wakas of the Maori people, where they held sometimes up to 200 and 300 people. Our people never had anything that big in our area because our waterways are so much smaller. We have lakes and rivers and streams, but your people were more of a seafaring people. And you get up on our coastal people, they had ships or canoes like that, or what you call wakas, because they did the whaling. They were out in the seas to do that. And everything that's in our culture was determined by our, as it still is today, is by our geographical location. And that geographical location is what determined our types of homes, our clothes, our foods, our medicines, our weaponry, and our ways of transportation, which the canoe was one. Because the rivers and the lakes were all, that was our highway system long before the highways of today came around. That was how we got from one location to another. And all of our villages were close to the water because that's our life source. Because without the water, you have no life. And with our Tsalagi people, we always built our village usually around the water source, where the water would be flowing away from the village as opposed to flowing in, because if we ever got surrounded by enemy, our water could not be poisoned because the water was always flowing away. So that was a trick that our people had up in the mountains. I'd like to see a big canoe. Our people build a big canoe, but ours are made out of what we call dugouts. They were burned out of a huge log. Yeah, you got that right, Jimmy. And
I saw in North Carolina, Mashu, how you made your canoe.
Yes.
And it's very similar. Well, one of them looks similar to what they do here. Some of them. They do that.
Where we burn it out with stones, and then carve it out until it's hollowed out. Yeah.
No, that was cool. And then we carve ours and make ours beautiful.
Oh, listen to that. But we also have the northern people who make the frame, and then they put birch bark from the birch trees on, and they sew that together and seal the sewing with pine pitch, and that's a very light canoe. And then you have some that will make it like a basket frame, and then they put animal hide around it, like they're pouring in a bowl. I mean, every tribe has their own way of water transportation.
I think I saw that in a museum.
Oh, that the round type of canoe?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I say every tribe here has their own culture and their own way of doing things. And even though we have basic things that are the same, we have even more things that are different, and that's the thing. But our basic spirituality and the basics of our beliefs are the same from tribe to tribe. It just varies a little bit. It's like I've said before, you can have several churches of the same denomination, but each church is going to have its own way of doing their ceremony, or their I don't know what you call it. The way they do things is going to be a little different, even though it's the same belief system.
Mm.
Did that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So when you come here, I expect a waka, and then we can compare the waka and the dugout and the different canoes we have here. It can be an educational symposium of indigenous people, and I think within the first year will kind of be a hit and miss, but I think it'll be so good by the second and third year it will become a event that indigenous people from all over the world will fight to be a part of.
Well, what you'll end up getting, Matthew, is a handful of Māori singing and dancing.
Well, you're not giving us much credit over here. We can do that too.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. Shimmy, 2 dogs. We've had a challenge.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Okay. But the thing about it is, I've seen their dances. Oh, boy.
So have I.
That's all right. Our word dance, we line up just the same way they do, so bring it on.
Might be fun.
Yeah. So that'd be good.
Mm-hmm.
No, but
I'd hate for one of them to count coup on me, though.
Maori don't count coup, they just take your head.
That's the point.
It's not just touching. They skip that part altogether.
That's the counting coup I'm worried about.
Well, whatever if they try it, I want you to stand there and take it like a man. Don't.
No, I won't even duck. Okay.
Okay, that's good.
We'll be gentle. We'll send the woman out first.
Oh, jeez. That's the worst thing you want to do is to send the women, at least with our people, because, man, they'll put you through the paces first.
Yep.
Yes, send the women. I'll stand there. I promise.
You'll be dead and not even know it.
Yeah, but that'd be a way to go.
Nah. Got to go down like a warrior. Of course,
that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, my warrior days are over, and I'm an elder now, so I can just sit and watch you go. And then,
but mine are, so.
Then I'll be the one to tell the stories about it. Hey.
That's right.
I thought that was pretty good.
Well, I'm 55. I ain't dead yet.
Well, I've got almost 6. You're 55. I've got almost 11 years on you.
Be grateful.
Well, yeah, I am grateful. Mine is this last couple of weeks, but I've been. Other than that, yeah.
But Mashu, in return, we do expect a group of you to come over the following year.
Yes. And I look forward to that.
And I'll be glad to show a group around over here too.
I will be happy to see you again, Doreen.
The good news is that more than likely Chimmy was moving here, and hopefully will be on the same street, so he will be very much a part of our tours when the Maori people come over. We can we can go very close, which is about 4 hours from here, and then we can also arrange to have some activities here within our own state, because I'm getting to know more of the Tsalagi people here, since I moved back to help take care of Ichi.
That'd be great, Mashu. And I talked to Belinda at the powwow when we were over there last.
Uh-huh.
Now she's busy organising another venue, for their powwow. So I think she's another key person, just for that learning about your tradition.
Yes, she's one person that I'm working with, and she and I both are working on another venue for the powwows. I talked to her several months ago about that, and she's helping me get in touch with the people of the area here, because I've been away for almost 50 years, so I don't know who's who here anymore. I've been down with where our people came from, and then, of course, my medical career took me amongst my wife's people, which is another iwi. And so I'm getting in touch with the people here and finding out what we have available here and to start things on our own, traditionally. So that's where I'm at here, and then Oklahoma is only 4.5 hours away from where we need to go to show the Western nation, where they actually already have a village up and running, which is very educational, especially for other indigenous peoples coming from other places around the world. And I think that's so good that it's so close where we can do that.
Well, in Cherokee Nation, the museum and stuff there is not the only place in Oklahoma to give them a culture blast of the indigenous people there. There's a lot of other stuff down in Oklahoma too that's and reservations that are strictly Native nations down there that we can take up to.
But the confines that we're working in right now is that this is a cultural exchange between the Cherokee and
right.
That's the whole basis of this, and so that's why I stress that.
Well, we need to start with what we know and who we know.
Yes. Exactly.
We can't come over there and go to the local people. I only met one person, and that's who I know from the location. So it will be Cherokee, I guess, Marty, to start with. You'll be lucky because you'll get a bit of all of our side.
Yes. I've been fortunate enough to be a part of and to get over there off and on for the last 30 years. So I feel very much at home there. So bring it on.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. I'll try to show the same hospitality.
You know we don't back down.
Yes, I know that. Well, we've got about, 4 or 5 minutes? And so I'm going to ask if anybody has any closing statements before we close. And Doreen, I guess I'll start with you, and then we'll go to our guests for this evening.
Thank you, Mashu. And nā mihi aroha kia koe e pā. Mō ko tautoko me ko manaki kia mātai. Kai here kia tiki hara ki tamaki. Kai here kia tiki aroha e kuri e. Thanks so much for coming on today and just sharing some of who you are and your people and Tuhoe and the stories that you give us. Beautiful. And to the listeners, thank you. Thank you so much, and I'll talk with you next week. Ka kite ana.
Toi te kupu, toi te mama, toi te whenua. Basically, that's talking about what we've been sharing mashu about the land.
Oh.
We're talking about the prestige of the land, prestige of the language, the prestige of the people. Without that, then we become nothing.
Oh.
So I'm really happy to be able to share, to use a little bit about myself and about my iwi and our tikana, our protocol. And I thank you for this time of being able to share with each one of you. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, kia ora, tātou, kia pua.
Kia ora, bye. Two dogs.
Well, I want to say that it's been an honor to sit here and listen to you speak of your people, and that my hopes and my prayers is that all the indigenous people around the world remain upon this earth mother, and that we look to each other in honor, love, and respect. And to let you also know that I love the Māori people with all my heart, and I'll always be here for you.
Mm. Jerry, do you have anything you would like to close out with? Maybe Jerry isn't here right now. Chimmy.
Yeah, I'm very honored to have you as a guest tonight, and thank you. I'd like to say to all of our relations, Sanoyos da Aledona da Gaha'i Gegeiwi Ichari.
Again, thanks for everyone that was a part of the show tonight, and a special thanks to our guests from Aotearoa. And to all of our listeners, I'd like to say Sanoyos da Gegeiwi, Sanoyos da Aledona da Gaha'i, Po Mari Kakitiano. Good night.
Yoda.
Join us on Just Us Radio Network for our shows Inflowment, Unity in Community, Numbers in Time, The Indigenous People's Voice, One Point of View, Walking the Talk with Kurt, and the People's Round Table. Check out our website for information about upcoming shows. Just ask Google to find Just Us Radio Network, and you will find links to our website and to our Blog Talk and Facebook pages, as well as to our podcast, where you can subscribe for automatic downloads.